How's it going, everybody? And thanks for stopping by for Tech Support Thursday ticket number 3. We have a number of comments and questions that were posted on the channel, so I do want to thank everybody for their continued interest in doing Tech Support Thursday. I think it's going to actually work out pretty well to kind of an Ask Me Anything kind of deal. So, I also want a huge shout out to everyone on the channel that has recently subscribed and stuff like that. We were, over the past, I think, week and a half, we've jumped like almost 200 subscribers. So I really can't thank you guys enough for subscribing to the channel and helping the channel grow and stuff like that. So it means a lot to me, because that shows that, number one, the stuff that I'm putting out is useful to you guys and you guys want to continue watching it. I'm getting a lot of really good feedback on Tech Support Thursday. I'm getting a lot of really good feedback on the content that I've been putting out lately for VMware, because, well, I just like VMware. I like to share what I know. So hopefully by me talking about it, you guys get inspired. You guys go check out some stuff. So thanks for always being there for me. So let's go ahead and dive into the first couple of discussions. So there was a couple comments made on the Tech Support Thursday. I have to actually go back a little bit further than that. When it comes to, I'm going to go back to the day after I released that video, where it is, the first question we're going to cover is going to be service provider, MPLS layer 3 VPN, video 2, OSPF and LDP config. There is a playlist for service provider that is not really focused on the IGP aspect of things. It's mainly focused on the MPLS piece, because that's really what you need to know. And it says, can you share your basic topology config for EVE-NG? So for that particular series, I did not, the membership came out after I created that series of videos and that topology. So once my certification cycle slows down, and so I'm planning on taking VCAP deploy for data center here in the next couple of weeks. It's kind of like a recon mission, and then I want to go and circle back to CCNP security core, knock out the score exam, and that'll probably take me into the summertime. I'm guessing I might be able to do it before the end of May, but that's my goal. And then I'm gonna kind of back off on my my studies a little bit, and I'm just gonna not stop, but back off, not be as gung-ho on it, because I really want to go enjoy the summer with the family. I've actually gotten some feedback from the kids. Dad, we really wish you would go out with us more during the summer. Okay, you know what? Called me out. I'm gonna man up and I'll hang out with you guys more. So there's that. So I will create a topology for the service provider series, but all the configs on the topology are there. So you just have to IP address them. The IP addressing is there. I walk you through the configs. So thanks for everyone that has congratulated me on passing the VCAP design exam. That really means a lot to me. It was a difficult exam, so a couple shout outs is definitely makes me feel good. So yeah, I do appreciate the responses there. There was a question on CCP Security VPN 300-730 exam passed. Sir, can you guide me that which CCNP is best, CCP Security or CCNP Enterprise? I am struggling to choose between. Sir, can you elaborate a bit about both? Thanks. So there are two different areas of study. First, just so you understand that, you have CCNP Enterprise, which again is 2 exams that you need to pass. You have the concentration and a core. The concentration can be the NARCI, which is the Advanced Routing and Services, or you can pass SD-WAN. And you have the core exam that you have to pass. If you want to dive into routing and switching more and get really good with that, then I would recommend CCNP Enterprise. I'd recommend CCNP Enterprise first and then transition over to CCNP Security. That's just my opinion. The reason why is because a lot of the things that you're going to learn in CCNP Enterprise are going to be taken to the next level with CCNP Security. In other words, how to lock down your systems, how to lock down the router, how to lock down the switch, how to authenticate your routing protocols, how to make your system more solid and more resilient to attack, that type of stuff. So those are some things that I would recommend that you do first. CCNP Enterprise and CCNP Security. I'm not going to go into a deep dive on how all that stuff works, but at a high level, that's what I would recommend you do. But you got to remember, Enterprise is routing and switching centric, meaning that you're going to be deploying routers and switches in layer 2 and layer 3 networking to get the basic operations online. So providing internet access for your users, or setting up a peer into a private WAN so that you can connect to your other branch offices, maybe your data centers or your cloud integrations that you have with either AWS, Azure, GCP, things like that. So, and then security is going to be taking all the things that you learned in enterprise, and you're going to be setting up secure connectivity, VPNs and firewalls and identity management, all that really cool stuff. So I'd recommend both, but I would definitely think it'd be a good idea for you to start with enterprise first as your primary foundation, and then jump into security once you've completed enterprise. That's the direction I would go. Another question on Service Provider MPLS Layer 3 VPN 5, IBGP VPN v4 route reflection. Thanks, Rob. About topics you are mentioned for the route reflector design, can you please recommend me for books explain this topic? There really isn't any good books on route reflector design. But what I would recommend you dive into is Internet Routing Architectures is a good book. I'm trying to think of what the other book is that's out there about BGP. IP routing on iOS, XE, and XR covers that pretty well. There's some documentation. If you look up BGP route reflector design, there's actually a lot of really good blogs that people have written and some white papers that Cisco's come out with. I'll see if I can't find some and post the links in the description. So, good stuff there. Another comment on Tech Support Thursday Ticket 2. Thanks for interesting videos. Now I'm learning SD-WAN. Your videos are very useful. Well, I appreciate the feedback. Definitely appreciate that. There's a comment that basically was a nod to my disdain for the fact that you can't use pen and paper in the Pearson VUE exams. I hate not being allowed pen and paper for working things out on Pearson's exams at home. Alexos were fine with you having pen and paper. I don't know what Alexos are. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, I wasn't happy with that either, but it is what it is. I didn't really need pen and paper, but I could see if you're like taking CCNA and you're not super strong in subnetting and you want to draw it all out, it'd be a really difficult time to try to draw out the bit mappings to each octet and then try to do some subnetting on the fly. For sure on that. Some more comments on the service provider walkthrough. Just a couple of thanks for that. So if you are thanking me for the efforts, I do appreciate that, and you are welcome. A comment on ACI Simulator 4.2-2E. You are a cool guy. Thanks for this. You are welcome. Another comment on the initial configurations for MPLS Layer 3 VPN on the Service Provider series. Can you upload the initial configs for all devices? I don't upload the initial configs. That's going to be something that I will provide you the topology, and you can go through and IP address them. The reason why I don't often provide the configs is because it's just the IP addressing, right? I literally walk you through all the steps. So the thing that a lot of folks have to understand is that, number one, the topologies take a while to develop and then get all drawn out and, and organized so that they make sense, right? So it's easily discernible what is a service provider, what's the customer, where the connections are coming into. That stuff takes hours to figure out, to design a topology, to talk about and then demonstrate the technologies. So the initial configs are literally just going to be the IP addressing, and you guys can do that. Just take the topology that you're given. The IP addressing is on the topology itself. go into the routers and type the IP addresses at the interface level. This isn't going to take you very long, and it's something you guys should be doing anyway. A lot of customers, or a lot of students that I work with, they want everything done ahead of time for them because it's time consuming, or they just don't want to deal with it. Well, tough beans. It's one of those things that you're going to have to do if you want to develop a proof of concept. You're going to have to learn how to build your own topologies and IP address them accordingly. If you want to be an engineer, that's something you're going to have to do. So I don't feel bad for people that have to do it themselves as I have to do it. So suck it up, Buttercup. All right. There was a couple comments on SD-WAN, VPN, overview, connected and static routes, sharing the initial configs. If you have purchased access to the membership, if you click on membership on the membership tab and you go down to perks to premium access, and you look down at the bottom, there will be a link that you can click on. You click on that, that'll immediately take you to a folder that has all the things that you can download from that folder. The UNL files for EVE-NG are in there, as well as the initial configs for the iNet, MPLS, and switches are in there. So go through and set that all up, pull all that stuff down, get your configs working, and all that good stuff. So you'll be good to go. Let's see. There was a comment on SD-WAN 8 dual V-Edge site and MPLS only V-Edge site templates, and basically it was like the person was trying to push a template from vManage down to the V-Edges, and it wasn't working, and they rebooted their EVE-NG server and the problem went away. Let's see. There was a comment on IS to IS high-level overview. Have you finished your workbook? No, and that was done a long time ago. I don't have any intentions of writing a workbook for IS to IS. It was more of a thing to do, but it never actually grew legs and walked. And I will see on the unified MPLS layer 3 and VPN and layer 2 VPN breakdown, I will see if I can't figure out why the blog post links to those blog posts are broken. I was not aware of that. I'll go check that out. Service Provider version 4 comprehensive guide now out. A friend of mine, his name is Nick Russo. I've known Nick for a long time now, probably 5 or 6 years. He wrote a book when he was studying for the Service Provider version 4 CCIE, and he wrote a book on it. And that book it's a beast. I've read the book. I've been through multiple sections of the book multiple times, and his book is, along with, I'm going to butcher their names because they're international from my perspective. I think one is from Poland. Lucas Bromiski, I think is his name, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. But they wrote books for Service Provider as well. The only book out there that's still relevant today, even with version 5 being released back in February of last year, is the CCIE Service Provider version 4 comprehensive guide. Like, if you want to do Service Provider, Nick's book is pretty much the only game in town. So if that's something that you want to dive into, that's going to be pretty much your only resource. So just be aware of that. Couple comments on the SD-WAN videos. People really liking them. Great video. Thank you. Somebody said it's the best, so I appreciate that. And then I got a comment on VMware DCV 11, editing VMware virtual machine settings and options. Hey Rob, are you planning on tackling the new SP in the future? And can you advise me of any content creator that you know of who's doing Service Provider right now? The answer to that question is part of the answer that I gave you in the last question, which was, if you want to know Service Provider, go buy Nick's book. It's on LeanPub. Go to leanpub.com or look it up on Google CCIE Service Provider. There's actually a bundle that you can get where the two authors of the other book, Lucas and the other guy's name I can't remember off the top of my head, and then Nick's book. And I would recommend you getting both books, because one is more of a deep dive into the technologies and a technology walkthrough. The other one's more lab specific, which is going to be help you focus on getting the lab operational. That's what I would recommend. There are no video courses out there for a service provider that are in depth enough to cover it. I have attempted to do it on YouTube and testing stuff out. The problem with it is there is just so many technologies out there to cover, and I don't have practical experience with them. And when I go to test them out, there's really nothing out there to work with. I like multicast, MPLS VPNs, tricky stuff to try to get working. So some people have asked if I&E's service provider content is good enough, and no, it's not even close. It's a good start for probably 15-20% of the exam. Brian covers the layer 3 VPN. He covers inter-AS-L3 VPN. He does a high-level dive into some of the layer 2 VPN capabilities, but doesn't go into all of them. Multicast VPN, it's kind of like a take a 20-layer onion, and he takes the top 3 or 4 layers off with MPLS multicast VPNs. So there's a lot that he does not cover. A lot that he doesn't cover. So I would, if you want to know how to work in the service provider world, I recommend that you basically open up iOS XE, the command, the config guide, and basically take any topic that's in the blueprint and dive into it, lab them all up for iOS and XR, and dive into them. That's really the only way to really be successful inside of the SP world. So it's a niche track, first and foremost, because it's specific to only service providers. And unless you work in the service provider world, you're not going to have a good time with it. It's not going to be easy. I spent 3 years pretty consistently diving into SP, and it was only after 3 years that I got close enough to where I felt like I might be able to do okay in the lab, and I still got my butt kicked in the lab. I took one attempt at the version 4 in November of 2019. I flew down to Dallas, and it was a beast. There was a lot of things that were asked about on the exam that I had never even heard of, and I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. So I don't know how relevant the CCIE is to a real service provider network. It's kind of irrelevant if it isn't or if it is, because that's not really what CCIE is supposed to do. But I don't know, if unless you work in the SP arena, unless you work with MPLS or you work in the service provider world, I don't know how valuable having SP is going to be honest with you. So it's not like it used to be when you would pass CCIE route switch, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and then you would immediately be able to transition to a service provider. Those people that have an SP CCIE today that got it 7, 8, 9 years ago, or even since then, even the past 4 or 5 years, the amount of new things that are out there today, Service Provider version 3 and Service Provider version 4 were, in my opinion, two completely different animals. So V4 went way deeper on Ethernet VPNs, or EVPN, and the goal was to get away from using VPLS, because VPLS sucks. It's data plane learning, where EVPN brings into play control plane learning. And basically take VXLAN in the way that it works. It uses BGP to propagate the MAC addresses. So I guess my opinion on service provider is, unless you work in the industry, it's a waste of time to try to go after. Unless you're just going after it just because you don't want to do security or data center. So that's my opinion on that. On SD-WAN 7 templates overview, Rob, sorry for a good question. He put good in quotes. How do you think, is your labs enough for SD or EN SDWI, the SD-WAN exam for CCNP? Exam preparation, if it is not enough, please define % of your labs that cover the exam. I honestly have no idea. I've never taken the SD-WAN exam, so I don't know what level my labs are going to cover. But there's probably, I'd say 50, 60% if I had to guess. I honestly don't know. There was a live stream that I did a while back for BGP, and I did a deep dive on it, and I made a mistake in the config. When I'm trying to configure a confederation, I had my autonomous system number swapped. So a viewer was basically kind enough to try to fix the config for me. So appreciate that. Layer 2 VPN technologies demystified, a video that I did a long time ago, and I was trying to explain how Layer 2 VPNs worked, so I got a little bit of a nod for that. And then a question that I received yesterday, VMware DCB 12, they wanted me to, the video was originally named 13, and it looked like I skipped 12, but it was just improperly named. So I renamed it to VMware DCB 12 FreeNAS iSCSI config. So that is it for, pretty much it for Tech Support Thursday. I wanted to take a couple minutes here at the end and just talk about kind of what my plans are, and to give you guys a little bit of context around some of the stuff that's going to be coming out here soon. I've got a lot of videos recorded around data center. I'm trying to just knock them out so they're done, but I'm also trying to do NSX and get that done, NSXV, and then I'm going to go and transition to NSXT. But I also want to knock out CCNP Security Core so that I can get my VCAP done for data center or for VMware. I can get my CCNP security out of the way, and then I will start diving into NSX, and that'll be one of my next target goals to knock that out. The NSXT part is what I don't know yet. I have to spend some time on getting into that one. And then I'm hoping to have that stuff done. Once I get through the VCAP deploy, I knock out CCNP Security Core. Then my next goal would be NSXT to get that done and go through it. I want to get my VCP in that, and then my 2 VCAPs done in that. I don't think I'm going to have those done before June. That's a lot to try to do in a very compressed time frame. So those will probably come later on down the road. I'll probably take the summer to try to mess around with it and learn it. And then beyond that, there is going to be, I want to dive into wireless more. I have behind me here, right here, I have a couple of access points that I've bought. I've had those for a long time, actually, probably 3 or 4 years. And I have a Cisco 2504 wireless controller that I want to use to play around with wireless and play around with that to see exactly how it all works. I'd love to get the CCNP wireless cert done. And then I feel like once I have my VMware DCB and my NSX, my VCAPs out of the way, and I've done CCNP security, then I can move into other things like enterprise wireless. I'd love to dive into data center and do ACI and learn UCS. I've actually been contemplating maybe buying some hardware for ACI, but the problem with that is it's really, really, really expensive to try to get any of the baby spine and the baby leafs in order to do ACI and the APIC and all that type of stuff. It's expensive. I've priced it out at somewhere in the neighborhood of between $6,000 and $7,000, and I honestly don't see the value of spending that kind of money just to learn ACI. I'd love to learn it, but it's one of those things where I don't believe in just taking a certification exam unless you actually know how to do the stuff. So learning, doing the VPNs, I'm comfortable working with VPNs, because then if you've never worked with the technologies and you just read the book and you watched the videos and you took a bunch of notes, but you were able to pass the exam because you understand how things work, you're a paper CCNP in my opinion. So I'm more of the fact that if you can actually do the work, if you can get into ACI and work with it, if you can work with UCS, whether it's a C or a B series server, you can do the storage with Fiber Channel and all that type of stuff, DCNM. That's really what makes you valuable, is being able to do the work. The certification becomes you get the certification because you know how to work with the technologies. That's kind of my attitude towards how that works, which is why I haven't gone after some certifications. But I don't exactly know how to go about getting hands-on experience with those technologies because of the fact that they're not really available. There is the ACI simulator, but I don't really know how valuable that's going to be. So I would like to do collaboration. So I do have some technology or some stuff that I can go through with collaboration and play around with it. I have been giving that some serious thought towards like the end of the year would be something that I'd love to go tackle. But I don't know. My decisions haven't been made up yet. So that's that. Again, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me in this video. And until next time, guys, take it easy.